Hey, good afternoon.
How are you?
Good, thanks for joining.
Thank you. There's Sparky. Hi, Sparky.
So I think we'll have probably 25, 30 on, and then hopefully we'll get through a good 15 or so folks sharing. Had some good conversations with the city of Spokane administration this morning, actually. So I think it's gotten a little attention over there.
Because we got big hitters like you on the phone, Chud.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the nonprofits. I'll tell you the story, and I know one of them's on already, and that is Larry H. Miller Group and the impact they've had. Hey, Stage, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Hi, Dave. Hi, Gordon.
John.
Hi, Sheldon. I've got Gordon. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Does that show, is that agenda come up? I put a list of sort of the speaking lineup to roll through, but can you see the agenda up there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll probably leave it. I'll probably pull it back up when we get to the speaking part so we know, and I'll just keep taking the names off so the next one up will know. Is that your alarm for your nap, your afternoon nap, Dave?
I wish. That was my alarm for this call, but I was on it this time, which is unusual.
Good. Well, I think, let's see, I'm looking to see if Council President Beggs is on. There he is, coming in. So I think we'll just get rolling right when he's on. But thank you all for jumping in on this. I know that middle of the afternoon and probably better things to be doing, but we really appreciate your guys' wisdom and insight. And I think with that, I think Council President Beggs, you're on.
I am.
Okay, awesome. I think I'll just open it up because I want to take your time into consideration totally, because I just appreciate you doing this and having this roundtable, but I want to be done by 3, no later than 3. So you're on and we're all on. But so with that, we're going to keep her going pretty good. We have a good group out there right now. It looks like probably somewhere around 20, 25, it looks like, but we'll start off with thanking you, and then the property owners, there's like 20, so the 23 now that are on the call. We have the 1 hour to get through this agenda. And I want to start, this is something my grandfather, my dad's on the line too, but he shared with me, and it made really, this is something that was related to the car business, but it reflects to us because I'm looking at me as guilty as anybody else, because I'm one of these that I like to think I could listen well, but sometimes I don't. But my granddad said this: the biggest difference between a successful salesperson and a struggling salesperson is the successful salesperson listens to understand the customer, while the struggling salesperson listens to reply to the customer. So Brianne, we appreciate that you're here to listen to us, and we want to listen to you too, because we got as much to learn, and we get going so fast in our own worlds that I think the opportunity for us to learn from each other is there. So this is about as a roundtable as you're going to get in COVID. And this will give us the opportunity to share experiences and hopefully to listen, to understand, and ultimately help come together and seek solutions, us to come together to find ways to help, each other and help the community, help the city of Spokane, and help those that are hurting. A little bit about Brianne. He serves currently as the city council president. He just finished his first year. Now almost 2 months into the second year. He's devoted to advocacy for all people and community reconciliation. For more than 20 years, he's effectively presented causes and cases to juries, appellate judges, arbitrators, mediators, community groups, and the media. And I appreciate his courage to just lead and to be here to listen and to provide some input. But Brianne, I'd love for you to say a couple words, and then we'll probably just go right into the property owner speaking.
Yeah, I will just be brief. I know most of you, but not all of you. So I appreciate those I've never met before. I've heard from quite a few of you in the past on these issues. I'm at my law office right now, which is the corner of Riverside and Howard. I've been a downtown business owner since 2010. I've been working downtown since 2004. I'm just a block or so from the plaza. I have commuted by bike through the Brown Street Viaduct and certainly understand a lot of those issues. So I do have some experience with them, and I'm really looking forward to hearing ideas that people have. If I've learned anything in 5 years of government, it always takes longer and it always seems harder, and getting consensus sometimes seems impossible. So anything I can get from lived experiences of people and really specific suggestions, I think is what's helpful. And, it just depends where we're sitting, what suggestions we think are reasonable or unreasonable. But the more I have, the better I can bring them to the table with all the other council members. And most importantly, really, the mayor and the police chief and the DSP, people who really and code enforcement, who really provide a lot of the backbone for actual specific actions. But I'll stop there because I love to hear from people, and then look forward to trying to answer any questions I can that people have specifically.
Thanks, Brianne. The one thing I want to make sure, I'm hopeful that the property owners, obviously we all have stories to share, but I want to be able to share those. And the hope with the walk away from this meeting is that we go into a conversation. We earn the right to have a conversation on both sides to keep it going, to sustain it. And so that's where I think some of the solutions will come out. I don't know if we'll be able to solve the world's problems here, but I sure want to be able to share. And so with that, I'm going to kick it over to Dave Black. And Dave, you lead us off.
Okay. Thanks, Chad. I appreciate it. And thanks, Brianne, for joining us. Appreciate you listening to our rants and raves here. Chad, my dad used to say there was no bad real estate. You just got to live long enough. And, sometimes I think lately we've kind of looked at some of our real estate and said, what can we do to fix this? And I just want to be clear that I'm speaking not as DSP board chair, which I am until probably tomorrow, but then I'll be past chair because the annual meeting handoff is tomorrow. But I am speaking as a property manager and property owner of some 400 properties located around the region. So I'm speaking from a regional approach and not just a downtown perspective with these comments. But I would just say, I'm not going to go into all the specific stories, but I would just say that we've all noticed an increase in homelessness, vagrancy, criminality. Whatever words you want to use, it's out there, and it's not just downtown. It's all over the region. Probably one of the greatest examples of it from my point of view right now is up at the Division Y. We own Heritage Village up there and manage it. And we've got people that we find in dumpsters. We've got, people that are using the bathrooms, and we've got Walmart shopping carts all over our parking lot. And, we've got people panhandling in the McDonald's drive-through line. And so it's certainly not limited to downtown. I guess in my short time speaking, I just want to say I'd like to challenge the city council to challenge our county commissioners and their fellow council people from the city of the Valley and other municipalities to join with us in a regional approach to sheltering and getting help for homeless. I would challenge that we mandate our police department to do the community policing that the downtown precinct has led, is going to lead by example with biking and officers on four-wheelers, etc. I think that we need to arrest people, and we need to, if they're criminals, and we need to enforce sit and lie ordinances, and we need to provide the shelter so that we can enforce the sit and lie ordinances. So I guess I would say, Brianne, we just need to make sure our police department and the the helpful people that work alongside them, the psychologists, all of the services that we need to provide are provided, and that we support their efforts. So with that, I'll shut up.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Dave. Chris Batten, you're up. Chris, are you on mute? We might be having some issues there. While he's figuring out, let's go. I'm going to go to Larry H. Miller. Dave Shore is the general manager of the Toyota store. I think all three of you are on, the general manager for Lexus, Honda, and Toyota. But Dave, you want to just share some of your challenges?
Yeah. So I just got some points that I kind of highlighted here. So I'll just kind of read this off, and then I'll just share some of the stories what we've gone through. So I've been on location since 2005. And over the years, we've seen a dramatic increase in homeless population and activity. The increase had rarely caused disruption in our consumers' ability to do business, nor impacted our profitability. But until recently, I mean, we see this almost daily now. Our dealership campus here has been part of the downtown community for decades, and some of the dealerships have come and gone and decided to rebuild elsewhere. We committed with a $34 million project that was completed in the fall of 17 and remained at our location. And we gave a lot of thought. We looked north, we looked Airway Heights, but ultimately decided on staying here in downtown as part of the commitment to not only the community, but downtown Spokane. However, I think the point that we want to make here is, and I'm just going to read it how we wrote it. We have a responsibility as a community to provide resources for the homeless. However, there needs to be accountability for those who manage and those individuals that use these resources. If we continue to allow drug and alcohol addiction, physical abuse, and uncanceled mental behavior, what are we really providing? Furthermore, what are we teaching? We create an environment that allows and even promotes those behaviors. This cause and effect has created havoc for the police and fire department, shelters, and homeless resource centers. Unfortunately, any business inside this zone is obviously going to be impacted as well. The optics, I think, and this is what I'm going to try to illustrate to everyone, is what do the citizens see, right? What do they hear? And there's stories upon stories. I'll highlight some of the big ones because they are challenging. We had a camp down. We have lots all over the downtown corridor. But this lot is over by the grocery outlet off of Maple. And there was a camp built up on the hillside. And the railroad company decided to remove the shelter because they kept going over the rails. And so they shoved the shelter down into our parking lot. Well, the homeless thought it was us that ruined their camp. And so they took bricks, they smashed out windows, they smashed side doors. They broke into all the trailers that we had down there. We had to remove a bunch of vehicles just because we couldn't do anything with them because they had meth inside of them. But it was to the tune of $138,000 in expense just from damage from that lot location. We had an incident over the summer, another location right under the freeway behind our campus where we hold vehicles that come in from trade. 2 of those cars got lit on fire. There was another camp. If you come downtown, what you'll notice is you've got these little tarp cities built everywhere. And at any given time, there can be 20 to 30 homeless people inside these tarps. So they're not using the facilities for one reason or another. But this is where we're getting all the damage and vandalism. They're breaking lights, they're doing graffiti, they're obviously lighting cars on fire. We had to spend another $30,000 to cap out all the electrical outlets on each campus. All the lights that we put up had electrical outlets. They were using those to power up cell phones or whatever else. We had to cap there. Our relationship with the police department is fabulous. I didn't think I'd ever have to say that in my career, but it's because their commitment and how often they have to come to stores. We have people in the broad daylight, literally using the sidewalk as a restroom. They're coming into the dealerships. creating scenes, scaring our customers. And I think the biggest point that we're trying to make here is we can manage through a lot of different things. We're advocates for the resources. But when it starts to affect business and decisions have to be made on what's responsible for the consumer, the employees, and then ultimately for profitability, there's a lot of concerns on our end. And I think as we move forward, I think what we're really looking for are what are some of the ideas or what are some of the strategies that we can do, because it seems like we're surrounded by resources. We got resources everywhere. However, it doesn't seem like they're taking advantage of those resources and creating havoc for the businesses that are close to, you know, the shelters or whatever other resources available to them. So that's our point. And again, I think the main takeaway here is I don't want to be in a situation where a customer is now scared to come downtown, and we're hearing that more often than not, and especially over the last 24 months.
Dave,
Thanks,
thank you
Dave.
for sharing. To keep it rolling, we're gonna go over to Keith Earhart. He oversees the real estate for Washington Trust Bank. Keith?
Hello. So we have 637 people that work downtown. So in our 5 buildings downtown. So between those 5 buildings, the people are moving constantly around there. So we're seeing a lot of what's happening on the streets. So even though, and I'll talk about in general, and then I'll talk about some specifics. We're seeing a lot more car prowling in our lots these days. I've moved everybody that I can into our garages because obviously there's not as many people downtown. So we're moving them into the garages to help with that. But we're seeing an increase in aggressive panhandling all around our properties. And it's even worse. It's made worse by the fact that none of these people are wearing masks, and they're coming up and getting into our employees' faces without wearing masks. We're also seeing people that frequently have to walk our parking lots and our buildings. You frequently have to walk under the viaducts, and the viaducts are terrible these days. You have to walk down the middle of the street because the sidewalks are usually have multiple homeless people in there, all their possessions. So that's causing a real problem for us. We're also seeing an increase in drug activity, and we're cleaning up more and more drug paraphernalia than we've seen, especially over the last 12 months. Graffiti, in fact, graffiti has gotten so bad that our painter purchased his own soda blasting machine because he was constantly having to call out to have a third-party vendor come in and do our soda blasting. So he went out and purchased his own just for us. That's how much graffiti we're having to clean up. So we're having issues, of course, with transients sleeping in our doorways, landscape beds, behind our dumpster at Second and Wall. They're leaving garbage that we're cleaning up on a daily basis. So as a result of that, we have full-time guards now in both of our tower lobbies, both in the Wells Fargo building and the Washington Trust Financial Center. I have roving patrols, I have evening patrols, and I have a patrol that's specifically just to escort people to their cars. The cost of these guard services in 2020 was $157,436. So we also had to do quite a bit of security improvements. We had to add a second garage door to our Rid Path parking lot because we're having so many people sleeping in that main area. We added lighting around our operations center and in the alley for a cost of about $12,000. We added exterior cameras at the operations center for $20,000. We also had put access control on all of our bathrooms at a cost of $1,200 per door. So, obviously constant ongoing costs with graffiti removal. We have to steam clean the sidewalks in the summertime. We fixed 2 broken windows at the Rid Path and 2 at our East Sprague branch. That's the other thing. We're seeing, as mentioned earlier, we're seeing this problem move further and further out. We've had a real problem at our East Sprague branch. I took out all of the landscaping because we had people camping in it. So now we have just hardscape, we have rock. And a very recent issue, just a few weeks ago, we had a transient slip past our guard at the Wells Fargo building, got into our stairway, and we have him on camera. He used a large knife to jimmy the lock and gain access to our lower level. He took an iPad from our contractors area, and using the app, we traced it. We called SPD, of course. Using an app, they traced it to the House of Charity. So as a result of that break-in, I'm now reinforcing all of the doors in our tower there at a cost of about $5,000. So we also had a transient last week, just last week, throw a manhole cover through our front door at the Indiana branch. He then went over to the Senior Froggies and created such a commotion that SPD was called and arrested him. So it's just, you know, the list kind of goes on, but that just gives you kind of a picture of what we're dealing with downtown on a daily basis.
Thank you, Keith. And I know we all want to talk. And that just blew me away. And I know that we all do. This is our community. We all are in it together. It's not one person's issue, but we got to figure out how to address this. But let's keep her rolling. Mark Starr, good to have you on. I think you got mute. You're on mute.
Can you
There
hear
you
me
go.
now?
Yep.
Sorry about that. My mouse went to sleep. Thank you for letting me participate in this. You know, my first observation is I thought I was one of the few people that had some of these problems. Apparently the entire area is suffering from something that hasn't been brought up yet. And I'm sharing all the same problems everybody else has brought up, by the way, is our customers. I noticed the other day, a couple of customers asked for curbside pickup. And when I took it out to their cars, they weren't wearing masks. The reason they'd asked for curbside pickup is they were scared by a few of the people that were on the street and didn't want to come in. That one kind of hit home. It was dark out. Granted, it's getting lighter now, but the situation still exists. I too have had to install cameras. You guys know I sit right next door to the Wonder property next door. They've had to beef up their security, thousands of dollars every month just to keep people from camping out in the garage, door spaces, and that kind of thing. But it's become a bit of a blight. Somebody set fire to the patio at Clink and Daggers back when we had the homeless shelter across the street at the arena. I'm not saying the two are related, but they did take place about the same time. It's making it tougher and tougher to get people to come downtown. And, you know, right now, looking at it from a retail perspective, and I think everybody will agree, we need to do everything that we can to reassure the public that we're not only fun, but we're safe, and you need to come down here. Unfortunately, through no fault of any of us, there's another population that's kind of moved in when we lost 33,000 people out of the downtown core. My neighborhood evaporated, but it was quickly backfilled, and we're seeing an awful lot of transient homelessness, and unfortunately the problems that, you know, that group brings with them. And it appears to be unchecked. I know that if I did any of the crimes that these people have committed, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you today. I'd be in jail. Yet, you know, if it appears that if you're homeless, it's okay to do some of this stuff. They're gonna, you know, put you on your way in. You're gonna reoffend. Anyway, anything that we could do to help, I'd certainly love to. You had asked for specific recommendations. I have one, and I know it's running against the grain, but I'm gonna bring it up. We've got to move away from low barrier. I watched firsthand what that produces right across the street at the arena. I don't think anybody on this call is afraid or ashamed. We want to help the homeless, but they have to live within the same laws that we do. And low barrier isn't doing anything to promote that. It's more sustaining the activities that they find themselves involved with. Anyway, thank you again for your time.
Mark, thanks for what you do for the community. Larry Stone, good to have you on. I hope, I think I saw you there.
Yes, that's right. So first I want to thank Brian for being part of the success we have in having the police downtown. I think that gives all of us a measure of hope, and I want to thank the city council and everyone that worked on that. What comes to mind for me when I see the amount of lawlessness and vagrancy that we have downtown is that all of us drive home, we push the button on our garage door opener, and we safely pull our car in the garage. But the poor and the truly homeless are the victims of what's going on. And they're terrible victims. Single mothers that live in the low-income apartments surrounding downtown, they know their car is going to be broken into. They know their kid's going to be playing in syringes and debris and human excrement. And I think that the poor and low income are really the biggest victims of what's going on. We're victims as property owners and business people, but we can hire security, they can't. The other thing that I'm finding is more and more people are afraid to go downtown. And I think one of the worst things we can do to the low income population and to the poor is drive the middle class out of downtown. When we do that, the biggest victims again are the poor. The business people, sure, that's for sure, but the biggest victims are the poor and the single mothers, the low income. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Larry. Linnell, and I know Walt's on as well, but Linnell.
Yeah, gosh, I could say exactly what's been said. We've had the same experiences that everyone has described today. So I'll cut to the chase and say, I think it's worse than it's ever been. And about 8 or 9 years ago, the DSP did some good work, I know, working with the city in getting that sit and lie ordinance to pass. And then it occurs to me, and I've been in my position for 20 years. We've been doing, what we're doing here with hotels and restaurants and the activity all downtown for 20 years, that there are times where it spikes and there are times where it gets a little bit better, but I've learned in my time that it definitely takes a deliberate effort to manage this. And I really think the year of COVID did not help us as people vacated downtown. I am very concerned about the future of encampments, and under every viaduct, if you walk from the Davenport Tower in our case, or any of our businesses, to Churchill's Restaurant or Wild Sage, how many tents and people will you have to walk over to go 1 block away? That will absolutely ruin our business. And that isn't what everyone, and all of us have worked together. And Ted, you said it earlier, we all are a part of this. And I think we all want to be part of the solution. We absolutely do. But I do think that relaxing on the sit and lie ordinance has not made this better. It's made it worse. I think the conversation a few years ago was, oh, we just need more shelters and that. And I think as has been said on the call, we are in support of that. There are people in our community that, come into hard times. And I love that we're a community that cares about that. And I would like to think as a group of professionals, we can be better at it than the same group in any other city. You see what's happened, in Seattle and Portland. I grew up in Portland and Spokane and have worked in all these cities. Seattle is different than it was 20 years ago. And my big fear, not just for our business, but for yours and all of us who live in the community, I'm afraid that we will become Seattle and Portland as it relates to the camps, the tents, and it's a mess. We spend hours cleaning up garbage. We had 31 syringes left on, in the back of the tower where our guests pull in. We have people that come in and out of our hotels every day. And thankfully, we have owners who have committed to 24-hour security. We have a standard where we have 2 people on every hour at every hotel because we have to have someone who can react to a circumstance at a moment's notice. And I do think that police downtown, thank you, by the way, is starting to help, and we're starting to see a quicker reaction. But every morning I drive into work and there are 10 tents on our front porch. So, that is helping with the time it takes to react to a circumstance, but it's not correcting or managing it. So I think we need more than just that presence. I see the viaducts are cleaned up, and within hours, it's back to where it was. I mean, hours. So I'm not sure what the answer is there, and Council President Beggs, you probably have a better idea, but I do think the sit and lie ordinance is absolutely crucial. We need to figure out how to get back so that we don't have you know, that situation where people are setting up, unfortunately, homes on our sidewalks and ruining our businesses. There's got to be a way we can help people and help ourselves. And I will share one last comment. In the last 24 hours, we had a fire started in the stairwell of one of our parking garages. I spent about 8 hours with our security team as our graveyard security person was attacked by, first time we've had this kind of aggression, and I think it's important to mention. We had a graveyard security attacked at 4 a.m. when nobody was around. And fortunately, within 12 minutes, the police were able to respond. But they rolled him down the stairs. He is scared. He has 4 kids. He said, I'm not coming back to work. He goes, it is different now. It is not safe. And although I've worked for you for 6 years, I'm not going to do it. So I mean, it's different than it was a year ago. And we have to get our arms around it, and we have to be committed to that, or our downtown will again fall to ruin. And, you know, I think all of you have worked too hard for that. I have too. And I just think it's just a matter of making up our mind that we are going to handle this. We are going to continue to provide the services and the support, but we do have to manage our retail sector, our entertainment sector, our downtown, our hotel sector. I mean, you know, or life will be different in Spokane, and I don't think any of us will like the way that looks.
Hey, thanks, Linnell. Betsy?
Yeah, thanks. Brian, thanks for your time today and for your effort on the downtown precinct, because that has made a difference. Similarly, the sit and lie ordinance, when it was enforced, could make a big difference. But I think, you know, there are a number of different strategies. And, you know, before COVID hit, there were some of the service providers and some folks from the DSP and from other organizations regionally kind of beginning to get together to find solutions. I do think this is a regional problem, but that's complicated. And that's going to take a while to solve. In the meantime, there's some real urgency. Linnell was very articulate explaining that. And as we emerge from a year of being locked down, and as others are moving to our community, it's just really important that our first impression is the right one. And we're so capable of solving problems. And so we're at a stage right now where I think we've got to just all get our arms around this and work together. I know there's some competing interests or different perspectives on cause and solutions, but there's probably more common ground than there is, because it's gotten to the point where, you know, when I look back, our security folks used to wear polo shirts. They're now wearing bulletproof vests, carrying pepper spray and handcuffs, and they use them all. And that's just, and that's just happened in the last couple of years. And you know, we shouldn't be running a private police force, which is and we have a great relationship with the police department, but there's some scale to the issue that's different. And again, it is regional, and I would just urge us, there's urgency here. There's some great positive momentum that we should be taking advantage of as we emerge from COVID. And this is one of those things that could just set us back for another decade or two if we don't get our arms around it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Betsy. John Stager.
Yeah, thanks, Chud, and thank you, Brian, and really thank you to everybody that's on this call. And I think, you know, the question was, or the statement was, we're looking for solutions, and I think this meeting is definitely, you know, a step in the right direction and trying to get as many people involved as possible right now, because I agree with Betsy, it's urgent right now. I'm born and raised Spokane. I'm 52 years old. I've been in property management 31 years. I've been managing commercial property throughout Spokane that my whole career. And I think it was Linnell that said that it's really been the last 24 months, or maybe it was somebody echoed it, is it's really been the last 24 months for me that I've seen an increase like I've never seen before in terms of not only the tragedy that we see on the streets, but the aggressiveness of the situation with people interfacing with employees of our businesses that we lease to, and to our employees of our company that we ask to go out and patrol. Similar to what Betsy just said, we brought on, our own security company to secure our properties, and it feels like that responsibility is really shifted over to the property owner, and the people that are doing it really are just pushing people around. They're not really enforcing anything. Our costs for security are about $38,000 a year for a small little business. I think most people that know me know that we're a small mom and pop property management company, that we own and manage our own buildings. And 38,000 bucks is a lot of money for a little company like ours. I also just want to be a voice that this isn't just a downtown issue. We don't own any property downtown. We have properties on the South Hill. We have properties on the north side. The majority of our property, on a square footage basis would be in the northwest corridor. And we are dealing with the same exact behavior that everybody has talked about down in the core. So I just wanted to be a voice for the South Hill as well. We had a camp that we had to break down a couple of weeks ago up on 29th and Regal. And the amount of drugs that we found in that camp, we had to turn it over to the police department and allow them to disassemble everything. So it's everywhere. So I'll end with that. I just thank you for that. And I do think that this is part of the solution is everybody having a voice right now. I'm ready to take the next step.
Thanks, John. Gordon, Hester?
I won't go into a lot of the behaviors and experiences because it really, we would echo everything that the people have already been saying. I would tell you that we manage over 12 buildings in the downtown area alone and over 1 million square feet. And in that portfolio, our costs have gone up $225,000 in the last 12 months just to try to manage the aggressive criminal behavior and the drug use. And that's the one thing I've noticed is it's not people that are homeless and looking for a place to get warm. It's the people that are doing drugs in the bathrooms and using your elevators as outhouses and really aggressively harming our employees and our customers. And this last year was tough on everybody, I think, with COVID. And we actually did have one employee who refused to come back to work because they just didn't feel safe downtown. And that was a specific reason they told us they wouldn't come back. And I've had 2 tenants in the last 90 days tell me they were not renewing their lease downtown because they just do not feel safe. And that doesn't count the ones who haven't told me that directly and have just chosen not to come back. And I think that's really, for me, it's the tipping point where we're just at such a critical juncture with our business community where it's not going to take more than a little breath of air to knock most of them out of business. And we really got to try to find a way to manage the aggressive criminal behavior and the drug use, which is going to chase these businesses and employees and customers away forever.
Thanks, Gordon. Jerry Dicker?
There you go. Here. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
So I agree with everything that's been said by everyone. I know we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars extra these years, and while we're losing revenues because of COVID, I believe long-term the homeless problem is more detrimental to downtown than any other problem. We are seriously considering not reopening the Bing Crosby Theater because people don't want to come downtown, and we were doing that more or less as a benefit to the community. So that's going to be pending. We have to make a decision on that. The problems with the hotels are so great. We may not open Ruby 1 or Ruby 2 again because the losses caused by the increased costs outweigh the a few extra customers we can get because people don't want to stay downtown. I don't want to be passionate about it, but I think the present conditions will eventually lead to the complete destruction of the downtown the way we know it. I think we'll lose our major retailers. We've been losing some for the last few years. The competition is fierce in all of their surrounding areas, and money's being accumulated by successful casinos that could buy or entice tenants like Nordstrom's to leave the downtown. What is peculiar to me is we've been discussing this for some time, and the council is composed of intelligent people. And Brian, I know you're intelligent. I don't know why we have to keep discussing the same thing. We're all sitting here telling you what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong. Please don't underestimate any of us. We're all fairly intelligent. We're not apt to be lying about the situation. I believe the police are helping, but they can't solve the problem. If you did a survey of all the surrounding areas, you'd see that no one really wants to come downtown. The guests that we spend millions of dollars trying to get guests to come into Spokane, and if they walk the streets, they're going to be molested or yelled at. I think, I know we're supposed to be nice here, but I think it's a horrible disgrace that our council will not take the steps to help our city and to protect our downtown. I can't say more than that. So I just am very frustrated and sad that you leave a great city, a great downtown, deteriorate, just deteriorate. So that's all I can say. Thank you.
Sorry, Charlotte, you're up. I was on mute.
That's okay. Yeah, I will just reiterate pretty much what everybody else has said. Canopy Credit Union is just down the street there from Mark at David's. And one of the just major concerns that we have is we have an empty, small, narrow, empty lot between us and Clinker Daggers. And that has become a campsite that they're then using our lower parking lot to go in and out of there. And then they go down to the river and bathe. And so our staff has seen more nudity in the last year than any of them care to see. So it just, I agree with everyone. This is a vital conversation to have, and I'm really grateful that Council President Beggs was willing to do this, because we all want a vital downtown. We know what that does for our economy. We know how strong it can be if we do the right thing. I'm with Larry Stone. I think that the poor and the low income that are living downtown or want to work downtown. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to provide employment down there. And Canopy Credit Union wants to be a part of that solution. And I personally want to be a part of that solution. So as we move forward, I just think we have to find a way to get through this, because I 100% agree. We need a vital downtown. It's critical to us and to our future.
Thanks, Charlotte. Terry Goebel. You're on mute.
But I am muted.
You got her.
Okay, you got me now? I'll abstain from the war stories because they're totally consistent with everybody. I have 4 medical clinics, 2 in the city, 2 in the county. Stories are exactly the same everywhere. I'll go straight to recommendations. The police, city police have been great. However, one thing they tell me every time they do decide to come is that just tell the dispatcher that you feel threatened. Well, quite honestly, I don't like lying to the dispatcher, but it does get them there. And when they get there, they deal with it. But I wish the city could at least somehow respond to all homeless claims, not just ones that there's a life-threatening situation. Secondly, I see camps getting removed, and that makes me happy. I'm sure it makes everybody on this call happy. But that effort has to just either continue or expand. I'm not quite sure how big of an effort it is, but it has to keep going. I've noticed when they remove camps near one of my properties that my problem increases for a day or two, but because we've gone to 5 security patrols a night, at least we are able to move them on. And I think, quite honestly, long term, if we keep moving them on, maybe they'll move out of town. Maybe we won't be so attractive to them. So that's clearly one of my recommendations, is to keep up the good work of getting rid of camps. And there's a huge one developing underneath the freeway, just east of Arthur and south of 3rd right now, that's been there all winter. Huge. The other thing that's I've heard, my final point is, a lot of the homeless that I asked to leave tell me that because this is a public building, which is absolutely incorrect, but they are trying to tell me that my building is public because the doors are open during the day, that they have the right to be there. And quite honestly, I think that sort of comes from the city. It's a huge misunderstanding, but anything the city can do to get rid of that myth, I think would help the problem. That's all I have. Thanks, Judd, for your efforts.
Thanks, Terry, for providing your thoughts. Des Moines.
Hey, Chad, thanks for having us. You know, I guess as Terry mentioned, you know, the war story is the same for us as well as everybody else. But when I wrote down a couple of notes on a sticky note at the beginning of this to, you know, what are the kind of issues I have, and my headline was typical nuisance behavior. And as I've been listening here, thinking about it, it really shouldn't be that typical, right? And it shouldn't just be, it's not really just a nuisance. It's significant, at least for us with our tenants and also with our customers, the effect that it has, the increased costs, all similar stories. I'd like to tell you 2 stories that we've had that I think are just a matter of time for everybody in the community. So in Spokane, in most of our properties are out of town, but we have a new property at the lower South Hill. We're out by Northtown, and then we're out at the Y.
Hotels.
Yeah, and so the new hotel that we built just below Sacred Heart, the Hampton there has a parking garage that's 6 stories. And in November of 18, we had all the furniture, fixtures, and equipment in there. Based on some delays, they were staged, but well secure up on the 4th floor of that building, and security cameras, and it was almost impenetrable to get in there. But a couple homeless guys got in there, and they lit that on fire. And the fire was so hot that I didn't know you could destroy a concrete building, but the fire department had to evacuate the building themselves based on the noises and everything going on in there. And eventually it was about a $6 million loss. And so it's significant and it's dangerous. It put the fire department's, you know, it was just supposed to be a warm-up fire, right? And that got out of control. And so that's significant. We're lucky nobody died. Nobody's talked outside of the region, but I want to make or outside of Spokane, but I want to make another comment too of our bad luck with the homeless. We have a hotel in Astoria, Oregon on the river, and a homeless guy went there, and I didn't know you could do this, but with just a simple screwdriver, he popped the plug on the natural gas line and then lit it on fire. And the hotel was full of people. There were 97 people inside the hotel. And we were able to get them evacuated. But the police chief, or excuse me, the fire chief, who was the former chief in Portland and is retired out there, he said we were 2 minutes away from the building being splintered. You know, you would have had nearly 100 people die. So it's just a matter of time before something dramatic happens. And I think that that's the issue. I mean, I guess we were lucky. It just ended up being property damage and with a building that had to be rebuilt. And then a hotel that got flooded on the 1st floor because of the fire department and out of commission for months. But eventually it's going to be a significant problem and a loss of life. It's not just a nuisance typical problem. And that's our comments.
Thanks, James. Kent Clausen.
At North River Drive and Division. Much like everyone else, we have lots of problems despite calling the police countless times. Transients coming into the facility, eating food, scaring guests, shooting up in the corridors, sexual activity in the corridors, and having to add additional staffing and so on to try to address the issue. We operate in multiple locations in 5 different states, and there's none of them this bad. So this is by far and away the worst situation we're in. And I think of all the work that's been done over the years by the city to upgrade the park, the GSI, the chambers, the Visit Spokane's, to try to get people to come here. And I think we're robbing our own citizenry also, the ability to use the downtown core, the parks and so on. They don't want to come down and expose their children to what they're being exposed to. And so, and I also think that we're robbing the homeless themselves of the ability to get clean by perpetuating their ability to live downtown without having to address their situation. I don't think that's compassion. Compassion seems to be the driving word all the time about we're not compassionate. But I don't think the way we've treated them is compassionate either, because we've allowed them and enabled them to continue this lifestyle, which is a dead end for everyone. And so I wish we would look at it a little bit differently and say it's not just for us, balancing off the compassion of the homeless, because I don't think what we're doing is at all compassionate. And furthermore, we talk about salvaging somehow the existing businesses in downtown Spokane, keeping them, just above the line of going broke, going out of business. What about all the new businesses that are not relocating to Spokane? Who would come to Spokane? When we go to a market to evaluate a market, we always go to the downtown core and we work our way outwards, and we get a pulse and a feel of what's going on in our city, in that particular city. If I came to Spokane today to look at it for the first time, and I would see these encampments and this and that, I'd be on the next airplane out. So it's not just about the existing business, but it's about the growth and the opportunities for our citizens to work and thrive and be employed downtown. And I agree with Jerry earlier. It's not going to last forever at this on this trajectory. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. That brings us, we're coming in on time here. And thank you all for sharing. What got me going on this is at Hutton Settlement, for those that don't know, we're funded, it's a nonprofit funded by commercial real estate, where 80% of our operating budget is from rental income. 18 of our properties are located in the city of Spokane. And of those 18, 0 are downtown. And of those 18, all 18 are dealing with some type of issues with the transient population. Just a couple examples that I'll share. One of them is Garden Courts on Mission Avenue. We were pretty good until about 3 or 4 months ago when the Salvation Army opened up the city of Spokane opened it up. We didn't get a notice or anything from the city of Spokane, which was disappointing, and have had nobody check in on what's going on there. It's a campus style office building facility with 3 different buildings and some park areas. So we're having obviously the same type of issues you all are sharing there. And it's just frustrating. It's frustrating. But one that really gets me is a Head Start. Head Start is it's a school for underprivileged children that didn't have an opportunity to say for like preschool, kindergarten. This is located out in the Logan Lidgerwood neighborhood on Nevada. And when COVID hit, our playground was overtaken by transients and turned into a drug place for drugs. We had the same thing one of you said about outlets. We had to cap all the outlets, but they were being used for charging their cell phones. And then when they got cold, they created a bonfire a couple different times where it took off and burnt all our landscaping. And then just recently we had a fence cut into and then broken into to where they felt like they needed to shoot up inside. Now, mind you, I'm there very rarely, but we got little kids here. that are finding needles. That's not good. And so that didn't really start until about COVID hit. And so that's the point, is I think it's going crazy right now. And I've had it, and it's hard. And just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with is, this last year doesn't sound like a lot of money and nothing compared to like the Davenport or the Larry H. Miller, but we've had $25,000 in additional property management expenses, primarily security, fence repairs, cleanup. And then we have one tenant we lost, similar to what we heard from Gordon, and it's $30,000 in revenue. So that's a total of $55,000. We are taking 2 kids right now off the street. Their families were homeless. We're going to place them at Hutton. So we're trying to work the other side of it with this income. But each kid that we raise out there is $50,000 a child that we invest in, and there goes rent. That's one kid that's gone between the property management expenses and the lost rent. And I know that's probably too simple, but when you start looking at it that way, we have an issue. So with that, I want to close, on my part, and then kick it back over to Council President Beggs. What are we here? We're here for you. We're here. We're all together. We're all part of this issue. And it's not just the city of Spokane. We need to get the county going. The commissioners, I don't think, are doing their job. I was wrapped up in the grocery outlet thing when it was going to be a homeless shelter. And I think the county just let that thing go. And it was a great opportunity. But we need the county, and we need the city of the valley to step up. We need the region to step up, and we are part of it. And so lean on us. I think the city council and administration I've shared with as well, but I felt this was important just to have a conversation with you, Brianne, just because of your focus and your leadership. And then we can take it to where you think we need to go. But we want to help, and we're part of it. And we know that that's going to, it's going to be roll up our sleeves type stuff, but we need to do it. I propose, I've been going to our neighborhood council up at Comstock, and I've seen some things happen there that I've been pretty impressed with. And I would propose that we as a commercial property group have our own council, regardless of geography. It's the city of Spokane, to where we show up once a month, and I have one council member that's committed to being dedicated to it. I have a neighborhood resource officer that's committed to it. And I've talked to Cubit Alexander, who I've been really impressed with, and he wants to be part of it. Where it meets monthly, and we talk, and then we get to the solutions, because there's things we don't know you're doing that we need to know, and we can help with on some of that. So my challenge to you is to challenge us, and how can we help and come together and work together to do this? Because we're all in it. We have pride, and we're carrying the Spokane flag, and we don't want to lose it. So with that, I'm going to kick it back to you, and you can close. We're about 5 minutes left, and I really appreciate you sitting there, because this isn't fun stuff to hear, but we all have to hear it. So thank you, Council President Beggs.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, everybody. I know you all are as busy or busier than me, and I just want to, I took super detailed notes of what you said, so I'll remember. And again, I feel like I know most of you, but not all of you. We don't have a lot of time for this conversation, so we can have further, but I just want to be clear that criminal behavior should not be tolerated. And I just want to be clear. Sometimes the newspaper writes down things or whatever, you might get some kind of impression that anybody on council, or at least 6 of us on council, think that criminal behavior is okay, or any of the things that you have described are okay. We don't think that. I don't think that. I co-wrote the ordinance to make it illegal and more to camp in public spaces, and to make it easier for police to enforce those laws. When they came to us and said, we need help with our language, I tried to use my legal background to help. So I just want to be clear that there's no disagreement over what's happening or that it needs to stop. So, there's a lot of complexity to doing it, and you might wonder, how can it be so complex? But that would really be some of the topic for this, instead of a neighborhood council, commercial property council. We could talk more about that kind of by department, and just some of the things that you mentioned of, okay, what's our strategy on cleaning up camps and making sure that they don't pop up again and reappear. The city does have a strategy. It's, again, most of the operational stuff is on the mayor's side of things, but there is a strategy for that. One thing that I really could use your help, and we could use your help, is the strategy of bringing the county and Spokane Valley to the table. Just so you may not know, but the mayor and I meet every other week with one commissioner and Mayor Wick of the Valley and a couple of key staff people from each jurisdiction. And the mayor and I are doing our darndest to get them to come together with actual money and resources and shelter sites outside of Spokane. So just so you, but it has been slow going, and I'm not casting blame. I'm just saying it's slow going. But some of you have contacts and relationships with decision makers outside the city that could be very, very useful. And I really do believe that if we were all on the same page with the same strategy and a plan and sufficient resources, we could make a huge change in it. We could. And I want to commend you to another resource to maybe talk to, and I don't know if you've been involved, but the Avista Foundation, led by Letitia Hill and then the staff people from the foundation, they have convened a roundtable on sheltering and homelessness to try to get our region in order and get it figured out. And what they've done is they've raised quite a bit of money as independent third parties, and they're using that money as a way to both a carrot and a stick with the city and Spokane Valley and the county to try to get some evidence-based practices and reality check things that will really work comprehensively and not just be the latest program of the week or the year and then it switches and that. So it'd be helpful probably to talk with Letitia. And again, this is the sort of thing, if we had this model, she could come and tell you what's going on there and how to interact with that. I support this idea of having a monthly meeting. It would probably be staffed out of neighborhood services. You know, we have basically, as Chud mentioned, we have 29 neighborhood councils, and we have staff that their job is to convene it, you know, organize where it is, but not to lead it. And we could, I think, easily fit this group into that. And then that's the place where police come, code enforcement comes, sheltering, all those things come for, and they right now go to other councils. And, you know, you would be a very high-powered group to get feedback and input on of what's working and what's not working. And again, you know, there's been some talk and idea of how do we expand our downtown precinct to other parts? How do we do community policing in other parts of the city? So I 100% endorse that. I will talk to the mayor the next time I meet with her, which is next Monday, and pitch that to her at a high level. You know, she's not the one that would do the work on it, but see if I can get her. And it sounds like Chud's already mentioned it to Cupid, which would be the next down from her on that. And I'm sure city council would participate. We regularly participate in the neighborhood councils. And I think if we all knew more, one thing I did want to stress in terms of information is the sit and lie and the no camping ordinances are not only on the books, but the police are supposed to be enforcing them to the degree they're able. And you might, I'm sure you've heard of the Ninth Circuit case coming out of Boise that said, if you don't have adequate capacity at low barrier shelters, you can't enforce camping and sit and lie ordinances. And that has been a challenge. The police, in the last year or so, the police have enforced sit and lie more than they ever have. But there are a lot of nights where there's no capacity that's documented so that they can't. And they are as frustrated as anyone about that. And so we do need to increase that capacity and then actually get a very more accurate documentation. We're beta testing right now a real-time shelter capacity count that will be online, and that is going to assist in that. It's still not quite ready that police can rely on it in a criminal prosecution, but we're getting closer. And we do that not just so that police can enforce, but also people who are homeless or who are trying to serve people who are homeless will know where the open spots are. But there's way more, and I might just harken back. I told you in my 5 years, I was most surprised by how hard it is to actually make change in government. and how long it takes. But the antidote to that and the answer is everybody coming together. And regardless of each of our perspective on maybe some of the details, we have more in common than we don't on trying to alleviate homelessness, alleviate crime, boosting our downtown. One other thing, just another challenge, is you might remember a few years ago, City Council led the way to try to do a public safety levy so we could hire more police. But they have been retiring faster than we can hire. So even though we approved that tax, we have not been able to hire very many more additional police officers. And we're still having a challenge. So that money is accumulating and can still be used for police officers and public safety. But we have to get through the backlog. So we really are understaffed with police. And that gets to that dispatch issue that you mentioned of, wait a second, how come the police don't come when I report a crime? Especially, it's a serious, whether or not someone's threatening your life, it's still a serious thing. So we're still struggling and wrestling with that, just so you know. The police department is putting a big cohort through the next academy, but we have many more officers to hire before we're even getting into the extra ones we budgeted from City Council. So I'll take a breath there. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say, Chud.
I appreciate it. Challenge on the Valley. We'll go out there and we're going to reach out to the Valley Council. That needs to be done. And I saw it firsthand when we were working on that grocery outlet. In the Vista Foundation, I've been in communication with Letitia and look forward to carrying that conversation. Really appreciate your commitment to the council going forward, because I think this conversation feels good right now, but tomorrow shows up and we forget about this. So we've just got to keep that going and just get it on the calendar and go. So I'm looking forward to that. With that, and I'm sorry about all for those guys from RH Miller and my dad that's on the line, you got to deal with the car analogies. You already got a little bit, but one of my favorite quotes is coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. That's from good old Henry Ford. And so we got some work to do, but we're in it together to do it. So rely on us. Anybody from this group, Brian, reach out. I know you're in touch with a lot more than we are, but we got work to do and we'll get this council going.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for bringing
Thank you
us
all
together,
for
Chud.
participating.
Thank you, Chud.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
See ya.